Hey guys, this is my fourth weathering tutorial today, and it's probably going to be my last one. This will be the fourth car that I've weathered today. So I'm getting a little tired and getting a little over it for the day, but I want to get this one done because I love Centerbeams and I think we can really pull off some really cool weathering on here. And I'm just going to kind of wing it. I'm not going to use a picture or anything, but what I'm planning on doing is making this a really dark surface with that brown and black that I've used for a lot of my train cars, and then have a lot of rust popping up on these up here. So that's what we're gonna go for on this car. And to pull that off, what we're gonna use is, again, our black acrylic paint, our melted chocolate acrylic paint, and my burnt umber for the rust. Those are the only three paints that I'm going to be using. I'm also going to be using these powders. I've got a light rust, a dark rust, dark earth, and chalky white. Now these are all from Monroe models, and these, I love these. You don't need them to weather, but they sure do make a big difference and make it turn out really nice. So that's what I'm going to be using. I also have Tester's Dull Coat, which is right here, and this is what you spray on. You spray it on very lightly, hold it about a foot above the model, and you go back and forth on the model just to get a nice light coat on there, to give the paints and the powder something to stick to, and then you give it another coat at the end to make it all stay on. I'm also going to be using brushes of all shapes and sizes. I'm going to be using an X-Acto knife. I'm going to be using gloves so that I don't mark up the model with my fingerprints, and also so I keep my hands clean. And I'm also going to be using Q-tips. And I believe that's all that I'm going to be using, but I'll let you know if there's anything more that I grab to use. But to start off this model, we're going to give it that light coat of Tester's Dull Coat, and then once I am done letting that dry for a little bit, I will come back. Alright guys, I sprayed that dull coat on there and I let it sit for a little bit just to settle. Now that'll give us a real good base for our powders and our paints here. Now what I'm first going to start off doing is I'm going to make these, the bottom here, really dirty, because that's where all the wood and stuff's going to be set on, so I'm going to make that dirty. Now how I'm going to do that is by taking that melted chocolate and that black, and I'm going to just take a little bit of the black, wipe it off a little bit, take a little bit of that brown, wipe it off, and get that good grime color right there. And then I'm just going to dip it into a bowl of water. Just slightly dip the tip into the bowl of water, and that'll give us a nice runoff look here. Adjust the camera a little bit here. It'll give us a nice runoff look. So, just like this. Just like that. I'm going to adjust the camera and myself here a little bit. Now I'm going to keep going. Make sure you get those cracks and crevices. And you get a nice grimy look on there. All the way down. I love Centerbeam cars. I think they're neat how they look, and I mean, their functionality is so simple, but they're just really neat cars to model. They just look very cool. Again, I'm just getting that black and that brown, dipping it in that water, bringing it all down onto the model like this. Now it's alright if you kind of get it around because it's dirt, it's messy. It just goes, it goes wherever it goes, so no worries. Try and make sure you blotch out all those clean spots, and once you do that, wipe it down. You want to wipe from the inside out because that's kind of where all this dirt and grime will be flowing. So that's how the dirty side looks compared to the clean side. I'm gonna flip it over off camera and do the other side. Now I've kind of finished up with the bottom there, and I touched up that middle part, and I'm probably gonna touch it up a little bit more, but next what I'm gonna do is take a Q-tip and I'm gonna just kind of wipe away at these a little bit to just try and make those bristle marks disappear just a little bit. A little bit of bristle marks is okay, but hitting it with a Q-tip, it doesn't make a whole lot of a difference, but it does do a little bit just to enhance it a little bit. And now it'll probably work a little bit more on this side just because this side's a little bit more wet, but I like the subtle little features, or the subtle little difference that a Q-tip makes. You can see it kind of takes away those bristle marks. Okay, that one's breaking off on there and I don't like that. Not a huge deal, but we don't need parts of a Q-tip all over our model. Now you can see already how good that looks. I'm going to try and touch up those crevices a little bit just because they look clean and they're not supposed to. But they're hard spots to get into, so I'm not horribly worried about it. It doesn't look too bad. So that's how that looks. Now on top I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it a little bit lighter, which means when I get that brown and that black, and once I get my good combo, I'm just going to wipe more off the brush. Wipe a little bit more off the brush when I'm putting it on the paper, and then I'm going to go again. I want it to be a little bit more subtle, which means I'm going to take all this and start spreading it along the entire top. It maybe didn't turn out as subtle as I wanted it to, but that's okay. See how that turned out? Pretty good. Get that top part there, and then I'm not really worried about my Brussels going over there because I'm just going to do that side also. So run and do that real quick. I did that. Now again, we're going to take our Q-tip and just kind of brush it in there a little bit. Brushing, make sure you're doing vertical brushes. Not a huge deal how you do this. And that's also kind of taking it off a little bit so it's not as grimy as the bottom like I kind of wanted. But if it turns out just as grimy, I'm also okay with that. Now I'm going to let that dry for a little bit, and then we're going to move on to starting to rust it. Now next we're going to start working on the little rust with my small paintbrush and just black paint. And I'm not going to grime up these sides at all, mostly because a lot of times they'll be covered up by loads. But just because I don't want it to be a completely weathered car in that way, but I want to have these rusted up. So I'm not going to grime it all, I'm just going to rust it, and then we'll kind of fade it a little bit with powders later. So we're going to start out by getting my really small brush here, very small brush, and just dabbing it into the black paint just a little bit. And then what we're going to start by doing is just making, let me get you in close here, just by making really small marks on the body to simulate small patches of rust, just like that. And if you get enough of these, they end up looking really nice, like the body of the car has really been out there. And then you can also put little dots here and there. And you don't want these dots to be too big. That's about as big as I'd want to go with these dots. But some of this will get covered up by rust that I'm going to put in later. But you see how that starts looking nice and well used? That's what you're going for. Like it's been out for a while. Put some patches and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working on it, and I guess I can show you, because I'm gonna put it on some of these. Now these you mostly want to go sideways. I'm just gonna do this, and these are gonna be covered in a lot of different rust and stuff. So look at these rivets and stuff up here. Those will get pretty rusty. So it's not a huge deal what these look like, but you still want to give them a little bit of attention, because those are the small details that are really just gonna bring a model to life. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna make sure I do these ends here. And I might do it a little bit on there, but probably not too much. I also can't forget I'm gonna do grime on the ends too. So actually I'll do grime on the ends right now before my brush hardens here, before I have to wash it. So we'll do some light grime on the ends. Now this is kind of a difficult end because there's so many crevices and stuff, but you just really have to work hard to get into those crevices and make sure that there's no clean spots. So I'll go to the other side, but first I just want to show you taking that Q-tip again. I'm gonna grab a new one, and I'm gonna wipe off some of the lettering so that we don't cover up the lettering too much. But then I'm also just gonna kind of swipe it downwards here, just like that. Makes that nice thick dirt accent there. Now I'm going to do the other side quick and then I'll come back. Alright guys, I'm done doing that. It's kind of tedious, took me a little bit, but you can see it's really nice how it all turned out. And once we get it covered up a little bit more and it doesn't stand out so much on a clean surface, it's going to look really nice. Did it on both sides. And then I also did it on the ends a little bit there. Now we're going to start with rust. And for rust, like I said before, we're going to use that burnt umber. Now I'm going to get a brush here that it's not horribly big, but it's still got a little bit of size to it. And we're going to make sure that we bring rust from the top, or from the top in here down into these areas, and these are going to be rusted up quite a bit. We're just going to give it a lot of rust. Now you can just use the paint, the burnt umber, but I would definitely recommend powders, because powders are really going to bring your rust out. So we're going to start out here, go right over the lettering, bring it straight down. There's your first rust patch. Really easy, especially just if you practice it, do it over time. You want to start it out wide and then bring it down thinner. Try and clean that up a little bit. I didn't do a great job cleaning it up, so I'm just going to make it a little wider right there. Now the reason that I'm bringing it all the way from the top is because generally rust has that starting point at the top. Almost always it's going to have that starting point at the top of something and then come down. Now I'm also going to give it some good rust coming off the side here. Now you don't have to go nuts with the rust. I'm going to make this definitely a more rusty car, but I'm not going to go nuts with it. I guess, I mean, it's your rail car. You can go as crazy with it as you want, but I'm just personally not going to be as crazy with it. This might become a little bit tedious, but I'm not going to do all of these because can see kind of how that's turning out. And it's going to be a lot easier to see once we get the actual powders on there. And I'm also going to have it coming off the bottom here too. Just like that. And I'm going to keep doing that. And then when I'm done with that, we're going to roll into the trucks. And yeah, then we'll be ready to start powdering. But I'm going to continue to do this off camera, and then I'll bring you back once I'm done. Now I'm finishing up the rust here, and it's hard to see right now, but it'll become a lot easier to see once the powders come. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some corner rust here, and I want you to watch how I do this. So I'm going to put some all the way on this side and bring it all the way down at an angle right in there. And then I'm going to bring also some from right here, bring it all the way down an angle and meet that point. See how they come together? And now you can freely fill in that middle spot, trying to keep it inside those lines that you made. And now just go ahead and reach all the way down with that, or as far down as you want. See how that turned out? Pretty nice. And now I'm just gonna put a few more rust spots up here. And then I'm also going to put a few more rust spots down here. Now those will really start popping nice once we get those powders on there. But first, before we do that, we got to do the trucks. So I'm going to take my black brush, or not my black brush, but my bigger brush here again, right here. And I'm going to do that exact same thing with the black and the brown. Instead this time I'm not going to wipe it in, or I'm not going to put it in the water. So I got my good black and brown there. Come in and paint it on. Didn't quite get enough on that one. I accidentally put my glove in the paint on my pinky, so I gotta be careful to not touch the model with that. Even if I did, it probably wouldn't be a big deal because it'd just be something I could blend in. But it's just not something I want to have to blend in right now. And that's going to look a lot better once it dries. I'll do the other three and then I'll come back and show you the wheels. Alright, I finished up griming up the trucks a little bit, and it's not too much, but it's enough for what I need it for. Now I'm going to work on the wheels, so I'm going to take that burnt umber again, just on a smaller brush here, the same one I was using to rust before. We're going to grab the Centerbeam here, and we're going to apply that burnt umber pretty liberally into the wheel here, the inside of the wheel. And again, don't worry about the wheel the rust getting on the outside of the wheel there, because we're going to take that off with our X-Acto knife later. And then this will turn out really well once we get powders in there. Doesn't really matter how much you put in there, just make sure you have enough to make the powder stick and to get all the shine out of there. And then also just make sure you apply it pretty evenly. I just want to bring it up to see for myself. Yeah, that looks good. Now what else you can do is you can put a little bit of paint on the exterior stuff out there. And then keep going on your other wheel. All right, and obviously those are going to look a lot better once we get the powder in there. But I'm going to do the next few wheels and then we'll move on from there. All right, so I finished up painting up the wheels. And also, oh, I didn't do those ones. Also do the back sides of the wheels. I guess I have an opportunity to show you that here because I forgot to do that. It kind of frustrates me because I just washed my brush. But that's alright. Gotta do it right. So, literally just like this. Have that opportunity to show you. Super easy. I hope you guys think these are easy too, because I mean, really the hardest part is just going out and getting all the stuff that you need to actually do it. But other than that, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. I'm really not artsy. And so if I can do it, you guys can definitely do it. These ones are a little bit more watery because I washed my brush. Make sure you wash your brushes, because that's how you keep them from getting hardened paint in them. You don't want that. Then they become unusable. Okay, that's done. Now we roll into powders. My favorite part, powders. Gotta wipe my gloves off here. Alright, and we'll start with just powdering the trucks. Now you're gonna want to take a brush that you have not made wet. It has to be a dry brush. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this dark earth color and we're gonna put it in the wheels and on the trucks. So, take that off. Now what you want to do is keep the lid handy so that when you dip in, you get some on there, and then you want to pat some out because you don't need all of it. You'll have a lot of excess if you don't tap it out. Now, we're going to gently apply that dirt in there, the dark earth in there, rather. You'll see how really nice that turns out. And then we'll also put some on the truck here. See how nice that turns out? Now, it may look a little sloppy right now, but once we take that X-Acto knife and scrape off the end of the wheel there, it's going to look really good. Like that. And now I'll take my X-Acto knife and I'll show you real quick. Take the dull side, this side right here, and just set it on there, push down a little bit, and just rotate the wheel. So you scrape off these ends because those will make contact with frogs on switches and other things on the rails. Just try not to scrape the inside of the wheel. If it happens, it happens, but just try not to. Now you can see how that turned out. Looks pretty good to me. They're dirty, but they're definitely well used. So I'm gonna keep going through and do all those, and then I'll come back and we'll do the rest of the rust. Now I finished up doing all the wheels. Make sure after you're done, you take a Q-tip to the bottom of these and just clean them off. But yeah, you can see there I got the wheels all done. I don't know why my voice is cracking. I've been talking a lot. Made a lot of videos today. But next we're gonna do the rust. And I love this part. With this light rust here is what we're gonna use. And pretty much all we're gonna do is we're gonna fill in those rust areas that we painted in earlier. So I'll zoom in here, and again we're just gonna make sure we have all that other powder off this brush as well as we can. It doesn't matter a whole lot, but we're gonna take our light rust, dab the brush in there, dab it into the lid, and you only need a little bit because this will really go a long way. So we're gonna take it and we're gonna brush it in there. Just like that. Now you can blow any excess away. Just like that. Now if you get some on the side there, or on the actual part there where I don't want it up on this raised up part, so I'll wipe it off. Gone. That's about all there is to it. And it's okay if some ends up on the bottom there because rust will accumulate at the bottom. Now you want to remember to get this top part too. Just like that. Really easy. Really easy, and it looks really good with those powders. We also had some more down here. But what we're really gonna do is we're gonna darken that up with the earth brown again. We'll get the earth brown back out. But yeah, that's how you do that. And I'm gonna keep doing the rest on my own, and come back in a little bit. Now I have some of that rust on there, and I'm going to fade it out a little bit with this dark rust. So we're just gonna keep using that same technique and keep going over the same spots as our other rust. Just a little bit, just to fade it out just a tad. Now I don't need to do that to all of them. Like these ones look okay, but like that one in the corner over there looks really bright. I want to dull it a little bit. Blow it off a little bit. You can see there's some rust that came up in the corners there just from the dust falling, but that's okay. And then I also did some on the ends, but not a whole lot. Now, the rust is done. Now what I want to do is add a little bit more grime, and then we'll add our dull coat, and then we'll be done. So we're adding that dark earth again. And we're especially going to be pretty heavy with the dark earth all along that bottom, all along this bottom part here, because this is very close to the ground. So the whole bottom part there is going to get some. Also, you can just put a little bit up in these areas just to fade it out a little bit. Just like that. And go ahead and just go over all these. And then we're also going to go along the ground. You can see how well that's turning out now. It's really starting to look like dirt. And some spots are a little bit more dirty than others on this car, and that's okay. So you can see how this side looks compared to that side without the dirt on it. Big difference. So I'm going to finish that up, and then we're going to wrap up the video. Alright guys, so there it is, our finished product. I just put some clear coat on it not too long ago. I think it turned out really nice. Got our nice rust spots on there. From what it was before to what it is now. Looks a lot more realistic. I can't wait to get it on the railroad. Alright, this is going to be my last tutorial video for now. I've done 4 today. And yeah, I'm tutorialed out for now. But who knows, maybe I'll make another one tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to run trains tomorrow, so I'll make a video about that. Alright, you guys have a good rest of your day, rest of your night. And I hope this helps you out. If it does, leave me a comment. If you have any feedback, also leave me a comment. Alright guys, we'll see you later.